I currently have two web pages that are linked to exactly the same style sheet. This is a very effective way to add style to multiple pages because all I have to do is have them have different, I use the exact same link tag on both pages. So here I have that link tag that styles me to my style.css, and on this other page, again, I have that same link tag that attaches it to my style.css. And now all the style is applied to both pages. So you see here that I've put a border around the paragraphs. What about if I want to not have it around every paragraph, but only around some of them? So if I go straight up and I use a p tag as my selector, it's going to select all the p tags. So what I have to do is I have to identify a specific paragraph tag. There's two parts to that. One is I need to find the paragraph. So here I want to, let's say that I really only want to put it around the scene heat. And it starts with, "We humans only see visible light." So I'm going to go find that. And there's the paragraph right there. It says "we," so this is the paragraph that I want to put the border around. What I have to do is be able to identify it. And one way to identify it is to use a class attribute. Remember, attributes go in the opening tag. And then I give it a value. Now the value of the class attribute can be any word that I make up myself. So I can just say that this is in my scene light. So I'm going to put light as my class, and that will give me access to this one particular paragraph because I've identified it with this label class equals light. So now I can go into my style.css and I can say I want a paragraph tag dot light. And what that means is that's a paragraph tag with the class attribute set to light. So let's go see if I save that, what happens in my web page. The only paragraph that is bordered, in fact, it's all the paragraph, right? I had the width, the text align, the border, the padding margin were all set on the paragraphs. And I just changed it so it's only set on this one paragraph. Now if I go to my other page and refresh it, none of those paragraphs are identified, and so none of the style goes on that. So this is how I can isolate style to a single element. Let's say that I also want it on this paragraph. That's still part of that section seeing light. So I can go to my HTML and I can add that class attribute to more than one paragraph. I could add it to this one as well, save it. Now I come back and refresh, and now both those paragraphs get exactly the same style. So this becomes an effective way to be able to pick which specific elements you want the style applied to. Another way to do it is to identify that it's contained in something. So one thing I want to do is, this is a table full of images, and I want those images to all be exactly the same size. So one way that I can do that is I can go into my style, and I can say, all right, on the image tags, I'm going to use that as my selector. I want the width to be, what do I want? Maybe 120 pixels. If I do that, now images have both width and height, and if I set both of them, I can skew it, but if I just set one, it will automatically change the other one to be the same proportion. So there I said, okay, I want it to be 120 pixels wide, and it made them all that. Okay, it looks like I want it just a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go back and say, make that, let's try 240. See if that's kind of what about the size I want. All right, let's try that and see how that goes. So there I've got them all the same width. Now the problem is when I did that, it made every image on this page and every image on this page all exactly the same width. And that is not what I wanted, because I wanted more variation in different places. So again, I need to be very specific on my style block. So instead of just saying images, So I could go ahead and put a class on each of those individual images. Another way I could do it is that each one of these images are in a TD in a table. Since they're all inside that TD tag, I can use that to specify my selector. So I can say TD space IMG. What this says, notice I don't have a dot, which is what I use if I set the class attribute. What this says is that if there's an image tag that is inside a TD, or you can look at it a different way. If you have a TD element that contains an image tag, then set the width. Let's see what happens when I do this. So when I do this, all my images go back to the original width that they were, except the ones that are in the TD elements. And then those all stayed with the width 120 pixels. What happens on my other page? Same thing. They all go back to their original width. They're not impacted because the only ones that are impacted are the images that are in a TD. So notice none of the words in the TD are impacted. So that's another way I can be more specific on my selector tags. We've already had the option where we could say more than one thing. So this one, if you use a comma between tags, then you're saying do both. Apply this style to both the TD tag and the TH tag. So you can put a series of selectors and it will apply them to all of them. Another way I can do it is again with the class attribute, but now I might want to apply it to a variety of things. So let's say that I wanted to, I'll go back to my scientific method page, and I want to apply some style to this heading. Well, let's see which one. I want to apply it to a couple paragraphs and the heading. So let's go in and I'm going to add some class attributes. So I go into my scientific method page and I'm going to add some class attributes. I'm going to add it here, kids. I'm going to add it to that heading. I'm going to add it to this paragraph. Where else? Let's just add it to those two things. So what, oops, I didn't get that in the right place. It has got to be inside that opening tag. There we go. So now I've done it to a heading 2 and a paragraph, and I've given them both class attributes. So now I can go in my style, and instead of putting an HTML tag as my selector, I'm simply going to put .kids. And that means the class, any element set with kids as the class is going to get this. And let's just add some border information. Run up there and grab a color. And be sure and put a style. Remember, if you don't put a style, that it won't show up at all. All right, so let's see what happened now. And there you go. I got those borders around both the heading and the paragraph. So two different tags. Now you see what a dashed border looks like. Two different tags, but both of them have their class set to kids. And so the style was able to pick that up. So another way to do it directly by kids. Lots of different ways you can combine your selectors to be very specific about what you want